Call to order this meeting of the Chattanooga, Tennessee City Council for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilwoman Burrs was on our agenda to give our lead our Pledge of Allegiance and give our invocation today, but unfortunately, it's with a heavy heart that I share that she has had a death in the family. Councilwoman Dr. Carol Burrs' husband passed away in the last week. So we hope that you will hold their family in your prayers. So for an invocation today, I'd just like all of us just to briefly bow our heads and I'll say a few words. Father God, we come to you, a hopeful people, bound together with a love of country, a care for neighbor. And Lord, we are sad. We are sad for our colleague, and we lift up her family, and we lift up our colleague, Jenny Burrs. And Lord, we also lift up our neighbors in Texas, most especially the families of the little girls at Camp Mystic. Father, we cannot comprehend the depth of their despair and fear in this moment.
Yes.
But Lord, we know you are sovereign, and we know that you care for us all.
Yes.
Father, give our first responders the energy that they need, the skill that they've been training with to help find all of the people whose lives have been lost in this terrible storm. And Lord, give us wisdom as we lead Chattanooga to make wise decisions about how we invest our city's money to protect us from such storms. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, okay, can I please get a motion on the minutes? Without objection, the minutes will stand. Council, we don't have any committee or department reports today, but I would like to make a point that after we've talked through the agendas for this week and next week, I've had a couple folks come to me and say they would like to go ahead and also have some discussion around the chicken ordinance, urban chickens. It's going to be on our agenda for 7/22. So we will do that after we've completed all of the agenda discussions and future considerations discussions today. So to review our agenda for today, we have a couple ordinances on final reading. We are going to be going through on first reading several planning cases. Please hit your light if you have any comments about any planning cases. Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I brought this up to administration, and we'll bring this up to council to discuss as well. Particularly item F and the volunteer incentive program. I want to start off by saying this is a program that, it promotes affordable housing, and that's something that I always support. I think my only reservation with this, and I would love to hear others' thoughts, is I'm not crazy about us giving up our zoning authority. If you look at the program, if you have to apply, it goes through Planning Commission. Planning Commission has the final say. And when I think of my district and when I think of many of our people throughout the city, if they have issues with certain zoning alterations, they should have a say in that, and they have their say through their council individuals. I have all the respect in the world for those who serve on our boards and commissions, and especially those who serve on zoning. So the Planning Commission is not an easy board and commission to serve on, but they were not elected. We were elected to oversee zoning, and so it's just a concern I have, and I want to support this. I feel like it may need some tweaks to it, and I would like to work with the administration to get my head wrapped around this a little bit further, but also would love to hear other colleagues' thoughts on this as well.
Okay. Councilman Harvey, your light is lit. Is it in response to this item?
No.
No, okay. Does anyone have some thoughts? May I continue this conversation, Councilman? Is that all right with you? Let's see, next active is Councilwoman Dotley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councilman Elliott, for bringing that up. Is Megan or Nicole here from the administration that can speak to that briefly, because y'all know me, to make sure that council maintains their authority when it comes to planning and zoning? Or add that alternate in there.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Elliott, for bringing that up. One thing I do want to say about the process, so we are following the state legislation on this, and so the process that we've outlined where this goes to Planning Commission is kind of exactly what's in the state legislation. So we're not able to do much tweaking on that piece, but I'm certainly happy to kind of sit down with you and talk it through a little bit more if that would be helpful.
So you're saying that the process for implementing the voluntary incentive program has been outlined by the state?
That's correct.
Law. Okay.
Yes, so that's state law. They have that detailed, and it is intended to be a by right process. So for when the local body, the city council, adopts the ordinance, which we have already adopted, then it's intended to kind of follow that by right process, similar to how a subdivision process works.
And as they're discussing, the only change that we have from the ordinance we adopted before is that we're moving from a affordability in perpetuity to a 30-year affordability period, correct?
That's correct, yes,
Okay.
to align with that update in state law.
Councilman Dowell, you still have the floor.
I'll yield for now to Councilman Elliott. I know he had another question, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we've got Councilman Henderson next. Is that okay with you, Councilman Elliott?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's on the same one. So really what this ordinance, I guess, is being presented tonight is just amending the timeline at this point.
Yes,
Is that
so
correct?
what's on here today is amending the zoning code to codify what was in the ordinance that was adopted by City Council in January. And so that does include the one change that updates the timeline of the affordability restriction from 99 years to 30.
And if, Councilman Elliott would like more time, I mean, I certainly would support a deferral if that's what you're leaning towards, but well, we could maybe further discuss this a little bit.
Are you good, Councilman?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Councilman Henderson and Councilwoman Dotley. I would like to defer this for a week to discuss this a little bit further. And in particular, I would like to peel back the point I think you just made, the state mandating or guidelines on this. I want to clarify, are you saying that the state will not allow us to tweak any of the verbiage? Would that be stepping out of the state rules if we amended it to something that would suit us, especially when it comes to the approval process? So that's something I want us to peel back. We don't have to discuss that now, but when we find some time to meet next week.
That's great.
Stay with us. Councilman Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a follow-up question for Megan. In my district, we previously approved this program, and if I'm not mistaken, it did not require final approval by the county commission, that it came before this body. So is this a new provision from the state code that we're now adopting into this?
So this program will be new. It has not yet taken effect. We need to update the zoning code in order for that to happen. So if there has not been any project that has received the incentives yet.
So the history on this, which I worked on when I was the chairperson of affordable housing, is that few years ago, really, we started working on the opportunity to offer some type of incentive to build affordable housing, but there were preemptions in state law. And so Nicole and Megan and Hanukkah and their team worked alongside Senator Todd Gardenhire and got this, this carve-out essentially passed. And we were the first city in Tennessee to pass that we wanted to do it. But they haven't actually moved anyone into the program yet, because then there was another iteration, a slight tweak to the law at the state level based on feedback from the private sector and from the folks here in Chattanooga to say affordability in perpetuity is an ideal, but is very difficult in a capital stack in the private sector. And so this makes a change that says instead of perpetuity, it's a 30-year affordability requirement to be able to get some of these incentives by right.
Gotcha.
And they're all an if-then. So from my perspective, something that that I've thought through around the giving council authority for zoning is that in studying this program and setting it up the way that we did, we have identified a rubric by which we have given our authority in this. So the zoning has to be appropriate. So if a piece of property needed to be rezoned in District 9 from, say, from an industrial zone or a business zone to then be a multifamily zone, for example, that would go through the exact same process. But then when the time came that they had that zoning, they would have additional rights and privileges based on the program that they build with. So it's an if-then. So if, for example, you agree that you're going to have these number of units, this percentage of units available at this percentage income, area median income, then you have some other tools at your disposal. They might be things like lower parking minimums, or even potentially additional height if allowed. So that's my perspective on that. And for me, I feel like we've built a lot of guardrails in the framework of the program. And it's pretty cool that it came out of Chattanooga. So Councilman Elliott.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chairwoman. And I want to say this, I really like this program. And I think it'd be really impactful. I'm thinking of the nuanced one-off cases where we have a community who, for whatever reason, may not be crazy about the zoning requirements, the minimum's been pulled back, or if a multifamily unit is now all of a sudden jumping up, adding another story. I think of the recent incident that Councilman Clark had to deal with in his district, where they were thinking about building multifamily units, and they did not want the home so high. But what if they qualified for, the building's so high, and what if they qualified for this program, and all of a sudden now we're going against the wishes of the neighborhood? And so I think it's just some of those components where we're still allowing this program to work, but building in space where the community can have input on certain cases that may be nuanced. I don't expect us to have a lot of these applications come through and we seek a lot of controversy. I really don't. I see a lot of these going through very smoothly. But when we do have those incidents, we do have some provisions built in where they can voice their concern and they can be heard.
Thank you. Do we have any other discussion on that topic? Okay, so we may anticipate a request for a deferral.
Yes, ma'am.
Megan, just for our edification, is there any concern on your end in terms of timing?
I think we're able to do a deferral for 1 week, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
All right, council, do we have any other zoning items on our agenda for this evening that need attention right now? Did you have one, Councilwoman? No, a zoning item?
Yes. Oh, yes, sorry. There is one.
Okay, you want to hit your light?
Yes.
Oh, wait, sorry, I've got Councilman Harvey, then you hit your light. Councilman Harvey, my
Okay, thank you,
apologies.
Madam Chair. I have plans today on item B to make an amendment with conditions, and I will read those into the record during our normal business meeting, but those are my plans
Okay,
to move forward with that.
all right.
No, this is right here.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes, I have item E, I have still yet to hear from this individual, and so I will be looking to defer this for 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay. Yes, please, sorry about that. Councilwoman Knoll, Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do item D, please. I am actually going to defer this for a week. I spoke with Mr. Richmond today, about a couple hours before I came here. And there was some opposition, but I'm not quite sure who the opposition was. I did visit the site yesterday and spoke with one particular family there, which they had no opposition. Matter of fact, they were embracing it, and I personally think it is a good fit, and it's a good thing. I think that the confusion was they were thinking it was going to be 3 or 4 stories high, but it's only going to be 2. So we really need to figure out who the other individual was that had the opposition. So I'm going to ask for deferment until next week, Madam Chair.
Okay. And council, I do have one item in District 2 under planning. And I will be asking the clerk to read the alternate version. This is the version that came about from our conversation last week where I asked for a few conditions to be made. And so we will get all of that confirmed during our voting session. All right, so moving to resolutions. If you have any questions about economic development, finance, or human resources, please hit your light. All right, there's several items under the mayor's office, most of which are related to the award of unallocated and accrued interest of ARPA funds. If you have any questions, please go ahead and hit your light. Okay, council, I'm going to jump over then to purchases for today. We only have one purchase today. It is for the Chattanooga Police Department for body armor. We do not have any renewals, any RFP format recommendations, emergency purchases, or sole source purchases. All right, looks like we're good on that. Okay, council, let's go ahead and take a look at the 2-week agenda then, please. We will have a Community Development Committee meeting next week. I'll remind you also, we are going to have a very long work session related to fire and police pay. So we'll be doing budget work. So eat your Wheaties. We will get all of the documentation in preparation for those by the morning, by Monday morning. So you'll have plenty of time to study them. And we've made an adjustment to the schedule, which you'll get on your calendar. We were going to be doing deep dives into the fire and police budgets week 1, but we're going to swap that. Wait. That's right, we are doing that week 1.
No.
The tax rate deep dive next week. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so 2-week agenda. Oh, there is actually one other item, I apologize, on this week's agenda. There is an ordinance, item G under planning. This is related to the setbacks that we discussed last week. And the city attorney has created an alternate version for us to consider. It is one very small change, and so we feel comfortable doing this as an alternate version, but if you all disagree, we can certainly just amend it from the floor. It was a conversation about the setbacks. These are all related to corner setbacks. And the plan is not to do the RN13 minimum corner setback side setback, to make that a 10-foot setback as opposed to a 5-foot setback. Yeah. So we're kind of meeting in the middle. It's currently 15, but going to 5. And we've had some interesting conversation about massing that I think we'll start looking at in future ordinances. So I'll be asking the clerk to read the amended version when the time comes on that. My apologies that I just bounced around.
That's okay.
Okay. All right, so do we have any questions about the 2-week agenda? If so, please go ahead and hit your light. All right, let's move on then to future considerations, please. If you have any questions on future considerations, please hit your light. Okay, looks like we are all set on that. I have had some questions about the bid budget. Do we have someone here that could speak to us about the bid budget? Great, come on up, please. So welcome. Steve, I don't think everybody knows you here, so if you wouldn't mind taking a minute, introducing yourself, and then walk us through the budget. I know I've got a couple questions.
Sure. My name's Steve Brooks. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Chattanooga Alliance, or the Business Improvement District. In your council package, you should have the DCA budget cover page, the 2025 budget forecast, as well as our budget for 2026. Our organization is forecasting then the 2025 fiscal year with a deficit of $100,000 versus our original budgeted deficit of $100,000. We were able to fund this because of excess cash brought forward from prior years. The 2026 budget includes the following: total assessments that we billed minus the allowance of $25,000 for bad debt and assessment waiver, about $740,000 we paid to Block by Block, which is our ambassador contractor for maintenance, safety, and hospitality services. This includes a 4% raise for the ambassadors and management. About $42,000 for beautification projects in the district, $22,000 for public relations services, which keeps our members and property owners and businesses informed of what we're doing work-wise. 2% assessment collection fee to be paid to the city of Chattanooga. About $22,000 in rent for our office space at 407 Broad Street, and then a balanced budget, and then an amount not to exceed $150,000 for ambassador services in Miller Park.
Thank you very much. Council, do we have any questions on this budget? Okay, I did have one question, Steve, in conversation with council people, is where within this budget is the $150,000 that the city of Chattanooga is allocating?
We have it as 135 up in the top, right underneath assessment fees, because that's what the number was, we were told when my board approved it. And then we heard from the city it could be up to 150, no more.
Okay, all right. That was a question because it didn't quite match us. Great, all right. Council, are we all good on that? Okay,
We are.
all right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay. Hit your light if you want to talk chickens. Maybe Councilman Henderson, you want to get us started with your, you sent us a red line version.
I did. I think it was Councilwoman Dotley had made some good suggestions last week, and I've sent a red line version sort of outlining those. I was also asked a question about how much this could cost the city, and I had asked Chris Anderson to look into that. So I want to ask Mr. Anderson if he would come down and sort of address that, if he would.
Yes, sir. The question, I believe, was, is there a significant fiscal increase or cost increase to the city as a result of this ordinance? Since this ordinance would be primarily endorsed by McCamey Animal Center, and we already have a static contract with a fixed amount every year with them, there should be no meaningful cost other than just minor administrative paperwork and that kind of stuff. But there should be no significant cost increase, no additional staff required.
Okay. And what is, just by chance, what's the administration's position on this particular ordinance?
It is not an administration bill. This is in the purview of the council. However, we have no objection to it and don't see why we couldn't enforce it.
Thank you. All right. I hope that answered some of the questions that we had gotten from last week as well.
So Councilman Henderson, I have a question. I received two alternate versions. Which alternate, are both alternate versions your version?
Well, given the fact that I cannot get into my email right now and take a look at that, I did look at a red line version that the city attorney sent, and I know that is the version that we had discussed earlier. I'm not aware of what Phil, did you send two?
I did. There was another request by Councilwoman Knoll.
Okay, so we have
so
two
what-
going around. Okay, got
There's
it.
version 8 and version 9. Yours is version 8.
Okay, so Phil, I would ask, since I'm sponsoring this, that you wouldn't send out any alternate versions
Yes,
related to this ordinance,
yes.
and only council consider the version, the red line version that I sent out.
Okay,
Because at this point in time, I am not supporting any amendments or alternate versions
Yes, sir.
other than what I'm sending out.
yes, sir. And that's up to the body on that end of it, if they consider.
Amen.
What is it?
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments? Yep. Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a conversation with Attorney Nobley in reference to this ordinance, and simply because I had maybe 6 individuals from the Great District 8 that was in support of, but I had 60 that was not. And that is a number I cannot overlook. They do not want it. And so I asked if there could be any way that the Great District 8 could be, a clause be put in there that we could be removed from this ordinance. And that is the alternate version, I think, that you were speaking of. So I'm asking if my council family would be on board with me and support me in having District 8 removed from this. That it does not, there's a couple of, I think maybe 2, 3 lines that would be a difference, and shall not apply to any property owners within the City Council District 8 or other City Council districts which do not approve the keeping of laying hens as provided in this ordinance. And that is at the request and the will of the constituents of District 8. I am good.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Phil, I think,
Yes, sir.
if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going back to when we were writing the short-term vacation rental ordinance and trying to create an overlay.
Yes, sir.
In this instance, it's a carve out, but as best I can remember, we couldn't carve out or list districts specifically because that becomes capricious and arbitrary, correct?
Well, the districts themselves are also subject to change by redistricting.
And they are also subject to change as well. So I've got some serious questions about whether, of the legality of even including this amendment. So again, I would just ask the council to consider this ordinance as a whole without amendments. It is for a year for a trial period, and let's just see if the sky really does fall.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair and Councilman Henderson. I did want to share, I sent out a survey to my District 7 email list, and I was glad to get so many great responses. But I did get 122 responses, and of that, 83% said yes. And then there was 16% that were, 16.4% that said no, with a variety of concerns, which I think we've addressed within this legislation. So I was glad to get that information back. Also, we did receive an email from McCamey noting their capacity concern. But it seems that every time we need McCamey to do anything, there is a capacity concern, because it's more like, I don't want to do it concern. So I requested that they send us data as to why they cannot do what we've asked them to do, as they are, according to our charter, our animal control center. So I wanted to make sure I put that on the record as well, because I believe McCamey was here last week and they said, yes, we can, we can move forward with what we're doing. But I think sometimes when it gets, gets a little to the top, people don't want to do what they are contracted to do. And we pay McCamey a great deal to do this work. So with that, I do support the amendment. I think that one of the things
The amendment?
not the amendment, I'm sorry, I support the ordinance, I apologize. What I do ask, I know in there we mentioned it was either Land Development Office or McCamey. Do we need to just strongly specify that McCamey does it? Because within the charter, it does state, I think it's section 7-1, that does state, you know, they are supposed to do these things. So is that correct, Phil? Because I did
Yes.
look it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so section 7-1 does state they are supposed to do these things. So do we just, and I asked Councilman Henderson, should we just explicitly state that the city's animal control center, i.e. in this case, McCamey, do that work and just remove Land Development Office completely because that's the role they're supposed to play? That's it, and that's my only other comments. Okay, thank you.
Do you mind if I let him?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
I
hit you
want to
up.
respond. So Councilman Anderson also did send me some language that made it a little more clear. Here, let me, two things. One, we're going to take the words McCamey Animal Center out and just put animal control, contract with Animal Control Board. The second thing is, the reason I left LDO in there is but I think Councilman Anderson has some language that I'm agreeable with that specifies that McCamey's the primary. But I didn't want to limit LDO if they went out on a code enforcement violation, that they could not write a violation for someone not having a coop or a coop being too close to the property line or something of that nature. I wanted them to at least be able to, rather than saying, well, you know, well, I can't enforce it, I'll have to call McCamey, allow them to, at least while they're there, write a code violation. Okay. That's the reason I had included LDO. I think Mr. Anderson has some language that makes it a little bit more clear than than the verbiage that I had in there.
Okay, that works. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Attorney Nobley, I will ask you again.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this in violation of anything that I'm requesting here for District 8?
You have merely requested that your district citizens not be included in this ordinance here. You can make a request for that to be done. It's the will of the council as to whether the council is willing to approve that amendment.
Okay. So let me say one other thing, Madam Chair and council family. It has been the case year after year after year, time after time after time. If you don't want it, you put it in District 8. District 8 no longer wants, and I've said this more than once, we do not want it. They do not want it. It has been voiced to me that they don't want it. And I cannot overlook the individuals and the constituents that has come to me and said they do not want it. Now, to make it cookie cutter and make it fit everyone, it is definitely not fair for that to be that way. If you are good with it, you're good with it, you're good with it, you're good with it, you're good with it, and you're great with it, then go. It's not going to be of any, how is it going to hurt you, any of you all that are in favor of it, to have it not be in District 8? It is no harm done at all. So we do not want it, and to impose it upon us because you say you are not going to change it, then that right there, I mean, that's something to think about. That is some strong language that was just put out here, that you're not going to change it. I'm making a request that my constituents be honored and respected, and for us to have what is not wanted, and they do not want it. Thank you, council family.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question as a follow-up to your sentiment. And I think I asked this question last week to Councilman Henderson regarding the precedents that it would set if one of us chose to exempt our district from this. And this could be a question that we need stronger guidance on from the city attorney. Sure. Is there anything in state law that preempts us from excluding a district if district lines change, or is it just the prerogative of the council to vote to, say, exclude District 8 out of the ordinance? Like, what is the issue, what precedence does it set when we're excluding a district out of the ordinance?
Well, we generally do things by district within, well, not necessarily district boundaries, but we establish boundaries where ordinances may go into effect. We've done that downtown with the urban overlay requirements that we have downtown. We've done that with a noise ordinance that we have in the center part of the city, and we have defined specific portions of the city previously that ordinances may apply to. The issue here, like I just mentioned, the aspect of doing it just by a district could change based upon the next decennial census that you have, and that district boundary line would change. And at that point in time, you'd have to look at whether that would disrupt people. The aspect of chicken ordinances in this case is not a zoning ordinance. It is simply an ordinance that relates to the keeping of animals within the city of Chattanooga. And as such, it does not create a vested right, I would argue, if it's not a zoning ordinance amendment here. But that could affect people in 5 more years here. But your ordinance as well here has provisions for review after 1 year.
You good, Councilman?
I think so.
Okay. I'd like to add a couple things. First, I personally prefer not to have specific districts for any given thing, allowed or not allowed. I know that we've had them in the past. We talked a lot about them related to short-term vacation rental, and I said then, I feel like a right should be a right across the city. And so in this instance, I think it's less an issue of fairness and more an issue of democracy. So if we don't all agree 100% on this, that's why we all have a vote. And very often, we are able to come to a unanimous agreement, but not always. So time will tell, where we land on this. I will say that I came into this deliberation with a very open mind. I haven't had a lot of conversation about chickens, and I too sent out to about 1,000 folks this ordinance in full so that people could read it in full and give me their feedback. The feedback that I got, Councilman Henderson, for the most part was overwhelmingly positive in favor of chickens. Interestingly, the handful of folks who were not in favor, most of them had chickens or known a family member that had chickens. And so they spoke from a place of experience, so that was interesting to me. And a question that I have for you, based on some correspondence I've had with the city of Red Bank, this ordinance in Chattanooga would allow for 8 laying hens. And in Red Bank, they're allowing for 4 laying hens. And they confirmed that the sky did not fall in Red Bank when they allowed laying hens. Can you tell me how you came to the number 8 as a husbander of chickens, a poultry raiser yourself?
So I looked at several ordinances, and some had 12, some had 4. I landed on 8, and probably the perfect number for me would have been 9. But this is, I'm gonna get in a little bit about chickens, but it takes about 8 months for a chicken to start laying, and then they lay hammer down from 8 months to a year to about 3 years. Once your bird gets over 3 years old, they start slowing down, so they start aging. You almost need to have a continual supply of young birds, of birds that's laying hard, and then some of your older birds as well. So the 8 number at least gives you, you're gonna need to be raising 3 to 4 young birds, to continue that supply of eggs and the birds that lay really well. And then occasionally you're gonna lose some. So 8 was just a number that I felt like, then in the summertime when they go into molt, they don't lay as many eggs. I just think 8 gives you a number that allows you to have a continual flow of eggs. With 4, your supply of eggs are going to be cut down significantly. Plus, you're going to need to be, now, if you're, in this ordinance, the juvenile chickens count towards your count as well. So those birds are not going to be laying eggs, like I said, for 8 months. So it just gives you, to me, a more continual flow of eggs. 4 chickens or 4 laying hens would probably not be enough to satisfy a family of 4
Okay,
on a continual basis.
okay. I thought that you probably had a very good reason for the number that you were recommending within this ordinance, though I do wonder if fewer hens would mitigate some of the challenges that people have experienced.
Now, say that again. I'm sorry.
I do wonder if fewer hens would mitigate the challenges that some of the people who reached out to me who said, they were messy or whatever.
In my opinion, I don't think that they would be. In fact, to me, it would almost not be worth fooling with 4 laying
Okay.
hens. Because you do have an expense up front, number one, of buying either juvenile chickens or adult chickens. You've got to put up the fence and you've got to build the chicken coop. 4 is just not going to give you enough eggs to supply really the cost that you've put out. And so I think trying to be rational about what a reasonable amount of eggs would be, I think you need 8. You need an 8 count, you need 8 birds, whether they're laying or they're juvenile.
Okay.
In order to make it even worth your time. And to me, there's no more work or trouble keeping 8 than there is 4. It doesn't take that much more room. Now, when you get up to 12 or, 2 dozen or whatever, now you start to get into a larger flock, and I would agree, but
Okay.
but between 4 and 8, and like I said, that's some ordinances that I read, they allowed 12, others allowed 4, and I just thought 8 would be
Okay.
a good medium number to deal
A
with.
well-reasoned number, okay. So then one final thought before I start hitting buttons again. So our city attorney, you've been asked a couple of questions, Phil, and you've answered them as you are wont to do.
Diplomatically as possible with this group.
You speak in riddles, you speak in legal riddles. So what I've heard you say, let me repeat back to you what I've
Yes,
heard you
ma'am.
say, is that when we have overlays, they are most legally defensible when there is a rationale for them and they are within a latitude or a street-by-street
Defined boundaries.
defined boundary.
Yes,
And that political boundaries change by nature because they are redrawn every 10 years.
yes.
And so when we think about a legally defensible area, a defined boundary is more defensible than a political boundary. That's one thing I heard you say. The other thing I heard you say is that as council people, we all have the ability, privilege, to ask you as our attorney and bring in front of this body anything we want to bring in front of this body, whether or not it is within the boundary of current law or is legally defensible.
And it's up to this body
Right.
to choose.
So
Yes.
this, we as this body could say we want to secede from the United States. We could do that, right?
So
We-
moved. I'm just kidding.
No, but we read about those things, occasionally you'll see, and we are allowed to do that, and then we would find ourselves in a position to legally defend that and potentially lose.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing you?
Yes.
Okay, I just
Or
want to
win,
make sure
yes.
that what you're saying is what I'm hearing you and I'm understanding. Okay. Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you. So you made a statement, Madam Chair, that people should not be suppressed, but whose rights should be suppressed? Should it be those that are for or those that are against? So my thing is, District 8 is a predominantly minority district. We have always been, at any given time, anywhere, been suppressed and have to take whatever is dove out to us or put before us or laid in our yard or in our lap or put on our back for us to carry. Come on, y'all. Should not be. Should not. If they do not want it, then it should not be made to accept it because everybody else thinks it's a good thing. We deal with it now. It is not enforced as it should be now. I get calls on it on a regular basis. Roosters, hens, whatever, can't get them picked up, not being picked up, and it is a nightmare for the District 8. So I'm saying it should not be, we should not be made to embrace this ordinance and accept it because everybody else thinks it's a good thing. We're gonna make you take this, we're gonna spoon feed you, we're gonna make you have what you don't want. And I'm not for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have another follow-up question for Councilman Henderson. I have not had a lot of opposition in District 5 regarding this. I think it's been a neutral perspective. I think ideally people don't want it, but I think the silver lining is that in this ordinance, it allows some monitoring and there's some guardrails that are being put in place to already help with the issue, because their chickens already exist in places they should not. And I think the silver lining when talking to the people in my district is that if chickens do show up in District 5, at least this ordinance would allow some control mechanisms when people do it illegally, and we can regulate that. Is that the positive thing about this ordinance for people who don't want it? Is that it actually creates a positive guardrail for people who are maybe doing it illegally, or?
Councilman Henderson.
I sort of liken this to the days of Prohibition. Even though alcohol was outlawed, people still made it. And in some regards, it was more dangerous making it illegally than if they made it legally, right? And so that's what I see this ordinance doing, is putting some controls and, as you say, some guardrails on to where it has a minimal impact on a neighbor, perhaps. And listen, there's also provisions in this that if an HOA doesn't want it, they can rule it out. They could put it in their guidelines and their provisions that it's not allowed. So there are other guardrails and things in this that sort of protect your peaceful enjoyment of your property. I think the objections that I've heard have mainly been mostly out of fear of what they think could possibly happen, but with chickens being kept in an enclosed hen house within a fence in the backyard, there's a lot of guardrails there that's going to minimize any kind of an impact. You know, I was on talk radio today, and we got to talking about this ordinance, and we allow dogs, obviously, in the city. That dogs can be a nuisance to some people. I can't walk out my door without my neighbor's dog barking at me the whole time that I'm out there. So, you know, I don't know what makes one animal or one thing acceptable and another thing not acceptable. But I think if we give this ordinance a year, like what's written in here, and it won't be by right. This is, I don't think this is something that everybody's going to rush out and do. My guess is the people that's already doing it is just going to give them some guidelines now to do it. And I can't see how this ordinance is gonna trigger, and I'm gonna be honest, when I first started keeping chickens, I did not know that they were not permitted in the city of Chattanooga. So, you know, my guess is there's a lot of people out there that don't know chickens are not permitted unless they, you know, when it comes up and people start reading the news, like now, they may. But, I think people are keeping chickens that want to keep chickens. And if you're not keeping chickens right now, then I'd be surprised, I'll put it that, I would be surprised if this ordinance would tweak enough interest for you to go out and start buying some chickens and build a chicken coop and fence it in and start feeding them, you know, if you're not already doing it. So, I mean, I hope that helps and answers the question that you asked.
I do have a follow-up to Councilwoman's Marvine's comments. You know, I'm sensitive to her passion about representing her district. I think, you know, they will tell you I'm sensitive about what happens in District 5. I prefer y'all to stay out of my district in some cases, as I look on the other side of the dice. And so I'm sensitive to that. And so I guess my question for you would be, not to put you on the spot, but just kind of a broader question, not necessarily related to this bill, but what precedent, like, should we be piecemealing legislation for certain districts? I know you brought up the word democracy, but I'd just be curious if you could respond to the sensitivity that people like myself or Councilwoman Marvine share, in that if our district just doesn't align with that piece of legislation, what precedence does it set when we start piecemealing our districts out of legislation? Has that been the norm in the last 4 years? I don't know. But I'd be curious to hear your response to that, you know, not to put you on the spot, because I'm sure this will, you know, garner more discussion, but just.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can respond to that. I don't feel like I've been put on the spot. I think carving someone out, in some ways, and I think Councilwoman Knoll or Vice Chair Knoll even said, you know, there are people that support this ordinance in her district. And so, going back to democracy, you know, is it the majority of the people that live in that district, or is it the majority of the people that sit on this dais that decide what Chattanooga as a whole is going to look like? I'm going to go back to the short-term vacation rental district that we've created, or the ordinance, which has a district in it. Having that district was never my intent. I felt like it should have been citywide. And once I get past this chicken ordinance, I'm going to present that we allow homestays citywide throughout Chattanooga. If we go to carving little sections out, then what is our city going to look like? You know, I would think it needs to look uniform. And so does that mean we discriminate in District 8 against the people that would like to have chickens? I mean, that could, you know, that train could run both ways on those rails. It could look like we're discriminating against those in District 8 that would like to have chickens. And you will, and in doing that, I know when we created the overlay, there was a lot of people that came and said, hey, I want to be in the district, you know, I want to be there as well. So I think you have to be careful that you have to be able to defend it in court, because you always, you know, people can sue over anything. And we hear that word arbitrary and capricious all the time, and defending that in court, I think we would have a hard time defending that, as opposed to just us voting on it, whether it goes citywide or not.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And by the way, let me add one thing. The overlay did not single out a district. It started with the urban overlay because that was where the most density, and then we built it out from there and made it contiguous. So So we would try to at least make it defendable of how we created an overlay. In this instance, we're creating a carve-out, which I think is, kind of goes completely against what an overlay would look like. Does that make sense? Oh, thank you.
In the 5 years I've been on council, we have not created a new overlay type scenario, just for your reference.
Yeah.
The overlays that have been created are a decade old, maybe,
Yeah,
give or
at
take.
least.
Yeah. Okay. Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first of all, let me see, a comparison with alcohol and chickens is not very good. And as for the HOAs, there are not any HOAs in the District 8 that I'm aware of that can put any stipulations and tell you that we're not going to allow you to have it. And it's not what people think that the issues the chickens are going to cause. It's what they have experienced with the chickens that's in the district now, in the areas now that they're having to deal with. And as far as being uniform for who? Once again, how do you decide who you want it to be uniform for? That is my state on it. And once again, I will say that, and if, we do what we need to do on it, but not for District 8. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair Knoll. I did want to respond to Councilman Clark's kind of inquiry about carving out, not necessarily carving out, but an example would be, and I'm just bringing it up because it will be brought up soon to this council, is the Amplified Music District. In this case, this particular legislation will be brought specifically for the areas that have amplified music or entertainment type venues, like a Tivoli theater or a stadium or a band or spaces like that that have loud amplified music. That wouldn't necessarily be the case in the heart of District, District 5 or the heart of District 8 or anything like that. So in that case, that's a justifiable kind of carve out something specific because everyone doesn't have necessarily those type of venues, whereas there are residents that live around these kind of venues that need to be protected from that type of sound. So when you mentioned it, I thought, oh, this is a great time to bring that up, as I will be bringing it up later, that there are times when it is justifiable that we can be very specific about it and carve out streets and things like that, because we know those are staples, those are institutions within that area that that does this type of does that type of business, the entertainment type business. So those, in that case, that's something extremely specific to District 7. I mean, in our case, the Amplified Music District wouldn't extend to Alton Park because we don't have it out there. So it wouldn't even apply to them. But when you talk about Main Street, when you talk about downtown Chattanooga, that's different. Now, it is loud. It can be loud. It should be. It's downtown. But also people live there, so there should be some boundaries or some restrictions as to how we deal with that. So I just want to respond to that because because as we move forward as we strengthen our legislative body with the legislation that we're doing, that there are times when that is something that we have to look at. How can we, what do we need to carve out? Why is it justifiable? And if we can do that, then, that's up to that council person or legislator to bring that up. But I wanted to just mention that to you so you'll have kind of just a little bit better reference of, we do that sometimes. It just depends on what it is. Okay, thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you, council. It's been an excellent conversation, and I must say, the teasers on some upcoming legislation is exciting. We've got a group here that are here to do the work, so I'm proud to work alongside all of you. We have now covered all of our agenda topics. Do I have anything else that anybody wants to bring up before we take a recess? Okay, looks like we're good. We need an attorney-client. We have a handful of items to discuss, so we will return at 5:30.
All right.
We are recessed.
Okay.
We are back in session. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please read item A?
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 21, Sections 2122 and 2131 relating to code official and authority to administer and enforce chapter.
Council, can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on item 7A to approve with a proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7B, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement in the 500 block of Oak Street beginning at MHS 145D 767, that's southwest 170 feet, to MH number S 145D 771, tax map numbers 145DJ 003, 010, and 017, as shown on the attached maps, subject to certain conditions.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Hit your lights if you have any questions or comments. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we are moving into planning items. Planning item A, please.
Would you like me to read the alternate version?
Yes, I would like you to read the alternate version. Thank you.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone part of a property located at 1010 Dallas Road from IL Light Industrial Zone to CC Commercial Corridor Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Thank you. This is case number 2025-0091. Is the applicant present? Do we have any opposition present? All right. Would the applicant please come forward? Thank you. Will you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Courtney Watson,
Okay, thank you very much. And your district?
District 2.
Okay, thank you. So Courtney, this alternate version has 4 conditions with this rezone. I'm going to read them, and I'd just like for you to confirm for the record that they're conditions that you are able to work with, okay? So the following uses shall be prohibited. The following uses shall be prohibited, thank you. 1, hotels. 2, animal care facility with outdoor area. 3, vehicle repair service, major and minor. And 4, drive-through facilities. Is that something that you can agree to?
It is something we can agree to, and we've actually communicated with the current property owner, and they are okay with those restrictions as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So council, this is in District 2, and I am in support of this alternate version with the conditions. I would welcome a motion. Councilman Henderson.
I move to approve the alternate version.
Thank you. Second. Okay, council, we have a motion in favor to approve the alternate version with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? I would make one final comment, which is thank you very much, Courtney, for the work that you all have done to talk with our neighborhoods in District 2 and also for your vision for this property. I'm very hopeful that it will come to fruition.
We appreciate that, and we are continuing to engage with the community, so thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item B.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to lift condition number 1 of ordinance number 13803 of previous case number 2022-0051 on property located at 1220 Lester Lane, subject to certain conditions.
All right, this is in District 4. Councilman Harvey, let's see, is the applicant present? Thank you. Do we have any opposition present? Councilman Harvey, this is case number 2025-0093. We have an applicant present and no opposition. Would you like to see a presentation?
No, thanks. I've been in contact with this developer, and we have agreed upon some conditions, so I would like to make a motion to amend this with certain conditions.
Okay, let's get it on the floor first. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, and now go ahead and make your motion to amend.
So those conditions would read, residential uses only on the first one. Number 2 will be a maximum density of 7 dwelling units per acre. And number 3, a 10-foot R landscaping buffer with privacy fence to be installed along the shared property line with Hamilton County Tax Map number 171C-B-004.
Mr. Attorney, do you have that in full?
I need to get the street number or the parcel number on the side. What was that number, the 10-foot buffer?
Oh, the tax map number?
Yes, sir. Tax map.
171C-B-004.
C, B, 004. So 10-foot buffer on the side of 171 CB004.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Council, we have a motion to amend. Can I get a second? Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to amend with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? All right, so can I get a motion to approve as amended, please? All right, and a second? Thank you. Council, we have a motion to approve as amended. It is properly seconded. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve as amended passes. Thank you very much. Item C.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 4410 Jersey Pike from RN16 residential neighborhood zone to TRN3 transitional residential neighborhood zone.
This is in District 5. This is case number 2025-0087. Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? All right. Councilman Clark, this is in your district. You have no opposition or applicant present. Would you like a presentation?
No, ma'am, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item D.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1614 East 17th Street from RN2 residential neighborhood zone to TRN2 transitional residential neighborhood zone subject to certain conditions.
Thank you. This is case 2025-0090. Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilwoman Knoll, this is in your district. Would you like a presentation?
No, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to defer this until July the 15th.
Okay. All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to defer this 1 week until July 15th. With a proper second, do you have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 2105 Randolph Street from IH Heavy Industrial Zone to TRN3 Transitional Residential Neighborhood Zone.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is case 2025-0088. Is the applicant present? Do we have any opposition present? All right. Councilman Elliott, this is in your district. There is no applicant or opposition present. Would you like a presentation?
No, Madam Chair, I'd like to defer this until July 22nd.
22nd. All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to defer this 2 weeks until July 22nd with a proper second. Hit your light if you've got any questions or comments. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item F.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance to add the voluntary incentives program.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to defer this till next week, July 15th.
Okay, council, we have a motion to defer this 1 week until the 15th of July with a proper second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, I'm going to slow my roll for a sec. Item G, I mentioned in agenda session that we would potentially have an amended version. We do not have an amended version, so this is one that Madam Vice Chair, I believe, is going to be making amendment from the floor. So item G, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance as adopted by ordinance number 14137 on July 23, 2024, to clarify fenestration in the form-based code, amend corner setbacks in the RN15 and RN13 zones, amends parking standards for medical offices, and updates the minimum river setback.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve? All right, we got a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second.
Madam Chair, I would like to make an amendment, and that amendment is to, a motion to amend the corner, RN13, the corner lot zone from 5 to 10 feet,
So we'll change the side corner street setback
from 5
from 5 feet to 10
to
feet.
10.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you. And for the purposes of the public, it is currently 15 feet. It was being considered that we would go to 5 feet. We have discussed it I discussed it with staff and got them to consider a 10-foot setback. And Councilwoman, Vice Chairwoman Knoll has made that on my behalf, as I am chair and cannot make a motion.
okay.
So we've got a motion on the floor to amend with a proper second. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion, the motion to amend passes. Can I get a motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve as amended with a proper second. Any questions or comments? All in favor to approve as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving into resolutions, item A, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic Development to enter into a first amendment to lease agreement with Hope City Church, Inc., and substantially the form attached, to have the option to automatically renew for up to 12 additional terms of 30 days each immediately following the conclusion of the initial term on July 17, 2025, for the continued operation of the city's Head Start, Early Head Start program on a portion of the property at 7 North Tuxedo Drive, further identified as tax map number 157 GB001, with rent of $7,500 per month of occupancy.
Council, can I get a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item B.
A resolution to accept the current financial report from the Downtown Chattanooga Alliance, DCA, for activity related to the Chattanooga Business Improvement District, CBID, and approve the proposed budget for FY 2026 activities, including authorizing the treasurer to collect special assessment fees for tax year 2025.
All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Human Resources Officer to increase the 22nd Century Technologies, Inc., PA 100303 funds by $640,000 to add sufficient funds for invoices through September 9, 2025, for a new annual total amount not to exceed $3 million, and to renew our agreement for an additional 1 year with an estimated expenditure of no more than $3,750,000.
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, please.
A resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Weston Porter as Chief Financial Officer.
All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Weston. Glad to have you on. The super heavy lifting continues. We will let our budget chair talk about that on the record later. Okay, I would like to take items E through J as a package, unless we have any that we need to pull out? Council, if you have an issue with that, please hit your light. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, items E through J, please.
Item E, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and authorizing mayor and his designee to enter into a recipient agreement with Friends of the Zoo for construction costs of a new veterinary hospital for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Item F, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and allocating the mayor his designee to enter into a recipient agreement with Launch, Inc. for kitchen incubator Chattanooga upgrades for an amount not to exceed $65,000. Item G, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and authorizing the mayor his designee to enter into a recipient agreement with United Methodist Neighborhood Center, the Bethlehem Center, for electrical system of overhaul costs for an amount not to exceed $46,025. Item H, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and authorizing the mayor his designee to enter into a recipient agreement with Hope for the Inner City, Inc. for capital improvement costs for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Item I, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a recipient agreement with Chambliss Center for Children for facilities repairs for an amount not to exceed $250,000. Item J, a resolution accepting and approving the award of unallocated and accrued interest of American Rescue Plan funds as part of the Chattanooga Relief and Recovery Allocation Plan, and authorizing the mayor, his designee, to enter into a recipient agreement with Chattanooga Chamber Foundation, Chattanooga 2.0, for Child Savings Account Initiative for an amount not to exceed $250,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a motion? Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions or comments, hit your light. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you again to the organizations for joining us at Strategic Planning. We appreciate your time and the work that you're doing in our community. Item K,
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Taz Henning as a special police officer unarmed for the city of Chattanooga, Chattanooga Parking Authority to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of the duties in the position of parking ambassador.
Second.
Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving to purchases.
Good evening, council. I have a recommendation for approval this evening. This is for the police department. This is a 4-year renewal. GT Distributors is requesting an 8.5% increase due to increased costs in labor and materials. The new estimated annual spend will be $334,240. The police department has approved this increase.
Second.
Thank you.
Never mind.
Okay. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time for committee reports. Councilman Elliott. Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, Madam Chair, you mentioned earlier, I just wanted to reiterate that our budget education to address first responder pay will start next Tuesday, July 15th at 9 a.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Chair of the Public Safety Committee, I did sit in on the second round of interviews for Chattanooga Fire Chief. And I will just say, with these 3 candidates that we interviewed, we have 3 solid candidates for consideration.
Great, thank you. Councilman Davis. No report. Councilman Harvey.
No report.
Councilman Clark.
Madam Chair, no report tonight, but I do want to announce that we do have a community development meeting, committee meeting next Tuesday during council.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I will make an announcement that the Chattanooga City Council will not meet on September 2nd. That is in observance of Labor Day. Okay. Do you have any announcements today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good answer.
Good.
Okay. Well, we have
Short.
reached the portion of our meeting. Oh, my word. Y'all, it's just hard to go around the circle and then ding back around the circle. Vice Chairwoman Noel,
Yes, don't leave me out.
I won't, I'm sorry.
So no report, but I would just like to say. I would just like to say, I would like for my council family to keep in the forefront of their minds the request that I have asked of you for the Great District 8 in reference to the chicken ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, we've now reached the point in our meeting where we recognize persons who wish to address the council. If you are here and would like to address the council, we invite you to line up behind the podium. And please listen while our attorney reads the rules.
Yes, at the end of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council, and here's your rules, since we have so many. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front provided for that purpose, and you can't have more than 3 minutes to speak. You may address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not on matters which are not under their authority and are regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Do not engage in any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address your comments to the council as a whole and not towards individual council members. And lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law. And someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with a meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated those rules, please go ahead, ma'am.
Is this it? Good evening. My name is Cynthia Stanley Cash. I live in District 5, City Council District 5. I didn't expect to speak tonight, but I wanted to come down here and represent a lot of my neighbors concerning the chicken ordinance. I'm sorry to just say chicken ordinance. A lot of us just now finding out about it. No offense, but we're just now finding out about it. And I heard a lot, you know, it seemed like you all have already been talking on it. And so what I would like to know, I don't know when you all plan on voting, but we would love your constituent, Councilman Clark. I have probably about 30 or 40 neighbors that would like to have a little input on our concerns. We're not saying don't approve, don't do the chicken, but we are generational homeowners, been in our neighborhood over 30 years. A lot of our homes are paid for and we're retired. But you all talked about certain amendments or whatever, but we would like to have some of our concerns considered and included on whatever you decide to do. You know, right now, we live over there with Tunnel Boulevard where they were proposing moving Mexican Bend, and then there was a tiny homes, and then there's another big development. So we have a lot of clear cutting that's going on, a lot of zoning issues that's going on in our community to do more clear cutting, and it's been going on about a year. So our community is overwhelmed right now from the wildlife that have been not relocated, but evicted from their farmland, green, I don't know what to say, the trees. But we have been bothered with raccoons, you know, coming out our garbage, surprising us in the morning, deers running through, not running through, but, you know, walking through the neighborhoods. They have nowhere to go. And so we're working on those issues. We have a lot of concerns. And then we have coyotes, and then we have skunks. So we just have a lot of wildlife roaming through our beautiful subdivisions. And now we're talking about chickens. So, you know, to me, I think whoever is doing chickens now, let them do chickens. We don't know if they're in our neighborhood, but it shouldn't be considered to be a citywide situation until we're all somewhat consulted, and respect the seniors. Believe it or not, I am one. I'm a retired senior and a longtime homeowner. I enjoy my retirement. I don't want to, fight chickens roaming through the neighborhood. We can barely get help for McCamey, you don't help with the wildlife. They tell us to call TW, what was that, the Tennessee Wildlife, and they won't answer the call. So please consider including us in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and I'll get out the way.
No, you're good, thank you. My name is Deborah Peterson, District 2, and I, talking about chickens too, I'll keep it brief though. I actually sent an email to the whole council. I don't think they all got it, so if you don't mind, I'll just read that email real quick now. It'll be the easiest thing for me to do. Thank you for considering the chicken ordinance for the city of Chattanooga. And thank you, Chip Henderson, for proposing the ordinance. In light of some of the negative feedback that I'm sure y'all have been getting, I'd like to clarify a few things as to the gruesome pictures of dogs attacking chickens. That is pretty disgusting. I agree with you there. But fortunately, your ordinance specifying predator-proof coops should take care of that problem and eliminate that. And of course, dogs will enjoy a chicken dinner anytime, just like we will, if given the opportunity, so we just won't give them that opportunity. Dogs will also brutally attack other dogs and cats, but we don't prevent dog or cat ownership. And a proper coop prevents predators of all kinds. You gotta have the right chicken coop, and she was talking about that. You really do. They can't just run amok. That's the problem that District 8 is having, and I sympathize with them a lot. But you need the proper coop, and I could go into all that, but there's kinds of wire that doesn't stop anything, and there's kinds that do. So another story for another time, but if you have any questions about that, I'd be glad to help you. As for the noise, when I was a hen owner in Kingsport before we moved to here about 9 months ago. And my hens made a noise once a day when they laid an egg for us to eat. Really, that's all. Roosters are the noisy ones. They are annoying, and I personally don't want a rooster, and I don't want one in my neighborhood either, because they are just as annoying as my neighbor dog, which barks constantly as well. So yeah, I get that. So as far as the noise goes, that if you're just gonna have hens, that's not really gonna be a problem. And as far as the smell goes, it's not a poultry farm. A few chickens, honestly, I clean mine out every few days, and my cat litter box actually smelled worse than my chicken coop. So you can keep it clean. Of course, if someone doesn't clean it for weeks and weeks, it's gonna stink some, but for 4 to 8 hens, you're not gonna have that overwhelming odor problem. So I just thought I'd bring that out. Let's see, I think that's mostly it. But what it boils down to is I appreciate the ordinance because you are regulating certain things that will keep it from becoming a disaster like District 8 is experienced with chickens running amok everywhere. It has to be regulated. I don't envy you that job, because in a perfect world, you'd have enough animal control employees to enforce it. Whatever. It's not a perfect world. So, I wish you good luck on that, but I think it is possible. It's just not easy, so.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you all for bringing this to us today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Colin Abbey. My wife and I are residents of District 7, and we live right at the north end of St. Elmo. I'm going to start with a quote from Mayor Tim Kelly. It says, "We can't have one Chattanooga when our neighborhoods are literally disconnected and inaccessible to each other, or when people don't feel safe crossing the street." Last week, Chattanooga Parks and Outdoors announced a nine-month closure of a portion of the Riverwalk between St. Elmo and the Chestnut Street Trailhead, a critical north-south bicycle and pedestrian connection to and from downtown and southern neighborhoods such as Alton Park and St. Elmo. This came as a surprise to everyone: cyclists, pedestrians, residents, and even transportation advocates. Chattanooga Parks and Outdoors gave just 2 weeks' notice and no proposed detour. we are asking the city council to act. First, create a temporary detour route. People from St. Elmo and other southern neighborhoods rely on the Riverwalk for access to and from downtown. As noted in official communications from the city on their social media, there are currently no immediate alternatives, and simply telling people to figure it out potentially puts lives at risk. We're asking that you involve stakeholders. It's unclear if or how groups like Bike Walk Chattanooga, the Multimodal Advisory Committee, and White Oak Bicycle Co-op were consulted, despite meeting regularly with the city. Let's fix that. Lastly, don't undermine the vision. As noted by our mayor, Chattanooga has accepted federal grants, such as the Reconnecting Communities Grant. This doesn't appear to follow national guidance such as the PROAG, that is the Public Rights of Way Accessibility Guidance, which is pending exception by the U.S. Department of Justice as part of the ADA. And lastly, this doesn't appear to reflect our vision as the nation's first national park city. We are not opposing, in fact, we're appreciative of the improvements that are proposed in this section of the Riverwalk. But myself, my wife, many of our friends and constituents who aren't here, we want you to reconsider and postpone this delay so that you can consider those 3 points above and make a more informed decision that serves everyone equitably. Thank you.
Hey, City Council. My name is Kevin Gage, and I live in Ridgedale in District 9. And I use the Greenway by Erlanger Park every week to commute either to St. Elmo or Lookout Mountain. And firstly, I'd like to agree with everything my friend Colin just stated. But I'd also like to thank the city for creating an excellent detour for cyclists while the Walnut Street Bridge is under construction. And I would like to urge that the same thing be done for the section of the Greenway being closed for Erlanger Park construction. I believe redirecting bikers onto Broad Street poses serious safety concerns for the diverse user base of the Greenway. From 2018 to 2024, there have been 76 traffic citations given on Broad Street alone. 33 of those citations occurred directly parallel to where the bike lane will be closed. So this is clearly a section of road where Chattanoogans historically do not obey traffic rules. There's one part of Broad Street parallel to the Greenway closure that is particularly dangerous to cyclists, starting at the intersection of 28th Street and Broad Street. This section is an elevated bridge that goes over a train track and Chattanooga Creek. Many of us have driven over this probably 100,000 times. This is often referred to by cyclists as an elevation blind spot. They are dangerous because there's a limited line of sight for bikers. As you ascend the hill, you cannot see what is in front of you. Similarly, vehicles approaching the hill may not have a clear view of cyclists who have already crested the hill. And lastly, the speed discrepancy between bikers and cars poses a risk. Bikers slow down considerably, as much as we don't like to admit, when climbing hills. Cars do not slow down while climbing hills. So we've got slow bikers on a hill with blind spots, on a road where Chattanoogans have been consistently speeding on since 2018, that does not have a dedicated bike lane. I would like to urge the city to please consider delaying the closure of the Greenway until a plan is in place to safely redirect bikers and other users of the Greenway. Go Lookouts.
Good evening, Council. My name is Adam Blair, and I also live in District 9. I'm also here because I'm concerned by the city's recent decision to close a key section of the Riverwalk near Erlanger Stadium for improvements without offering any alternative routes or detour plans. The Riverwalk, as you've heard, is an essential piece of infrastructure used daily by commuters, families, and recreational cyclists like myself. I'm excited about the proposed improvements to the Riverwalk and the stadium. However, the closure plans are disappointing given Chattanooga's recent designation as the nation's first national park city, whose values include promoting walking, biking, and outdoor recreation. Closing a critical active transportation route for 8 months with no safe detour directly contradicts those values. The closure also runs counter to the city's own commitment to creating safer streets. With an interrupted Riverwalk, cyclists and pedestrians will be required to use 4-lane roads like Broad Street and Market Street that were designed for cars. This will create real safety risks while sending a troubling message about the city's priorities. So as council members, I'm asking you to advocate for 3 things. First, an alternative route that maintains safety and connectivity during the closure. Second, improve signage and public communication about the closure. And then third, a long-term policy that ensures that future closures, because I think there will be with Chattanooga's growth, come with alternatives that reflect community input. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan La Rosa. I am a resident of District 2. And I'm also here to voice my displeasure with the closure, the Riverwalk closure, and the lack of a safe alternative. As I agree with everything that's been said before me on this subject, and I'm very excited that this stretch of the Riverwalk is being improved, and that's great, and we thank the city for that. I thank the city for that. I also saw an email that Councilor Dotley had sent, I think, to everyone that contacted her, and where she says that she is going to push the city for a safe alternative, and I'm very appreciative and thankful for that. I think that in addition to some of the stuff that's been said about Broad Street being unsafe, I think it's a great opportunity to put a temporary protected bike lane there, similar to what we have on Veterans Bridge, and also to use that opportunity to study traffic patterns there for future improvements. Recently, I and some other members of the cycling community made what is called a ghost bike for someone, and a ghost bike is a memorial for someone that's been killed while riding their bicycle, and it serves as a memorial to that person, but also as a reminder and a call to action and awareness for the fact that certain roads are quite dangerous for cycling. We put this sign on the ghost bike in memory of Mr. Brooks, who was killed. He was killed up near Highway 58 and 153, just east of there. And we made this, like I said, as a memorial for him. And this bike will be put there actually later this week with this sign on the bike as a memorial, as I said. And we didn't want to make this. We never want to make something like this, but we did, like I said, for the reasons I said. And it would really be a shame if we had to make another one of these for someone that was killed as a result of this closure and an improper safe alternate. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heather Dayton. I'm a resident of District 8, and I would just like to echo what all the folks before me have said about the Riverwalk closure that is coming up next week. It is a main thoroughfare for cyclists, runners, commuters. I use this section of the Riverwalk every single week. And I see all types of populations coming through this area. And like it has been said before, there's not a safe alternative to this. The Chattanooga Parks Department has made this aware that they do not have a safe alternative to this closure. I'm very thankful, like others are, that there are improvements being made, that there is going to be a new stadium, and that this section of the riverfront is going to have greater development, more community opportunities. But in the meantime, there does need to be some alternative route, some detour to be provided for safe passage from one part of the city to another to connect and keep the city connected. So if there was a way to delay this closure at all, that would be ideal until there is a solution provided. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joshua David Capellish. I'm an advocate for veterans in our community. I'm also a chaplain. So what I want to do is highlight the fact that we've got July 16th coming up, the 10-year anniversary of the terrorist attacks in Chattanooga. That's my purpose of being here today. So I'm trying to be a torchbearer and shedding light on important issues for veterans in our community. So an announcement for the Chattanooga Area Veterans Council, there is an official event at 11 o'clock at the Wreath of Honor at the Naval Support Center. So that's the 16th of July at 11, and that's a 10-year anniversary. The county mayor there will be there, and the city mayor, so I'd appreciate your support there. At 10:45 a.m. on July 16th, 2015, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a terrorist attacked the recruiting center, then proceeded to attack the Naval Support Center and Marine Reserve Center. Chattanooga and America would forever be changed in the wake of bloodshed on American soil against uniformed active duty personnel at their assigned posts. Purple Heart medals are rarely earned off the battlefield. The attack was cold-blooded, cowardly, and was an act not rooted in a worthy cause. Our dear brothers will never be forgotten for their sacrifices in keeping this country strong, united, and safe. Their honor, courage, and faithfulness are exemplified year after year as individuals seek to unite in ways that pay homage to the fallen five's enduring memory. The courage to stand for the American flag is demonstrated at each memorial event, as Chattanooga has a rich military history. Action is preceded by a decision to commit. A commitment to never forget means to take important actions in support of the statement to never forget. Persistent resolve is the enduring American spirit, and it does not wane in the face of time, but becomes galvanized and resolute determination to achieve one's own end in a means fittingly described as honorable. That which we sow, that which we protect, that which we harvest in actuality is life, precious life. From creation to end, we value life as humans, as Americans, and for ourselves. When life is unjustly taken from us, we find a deep sense of grief to which we mourn and find sources of healing. Some of us drive, some of us run, some of us cry, some of us mourn, some of us bike, or live in ways we find fitting for us, for a wholesome we had before. We must, however, never forget the fallen five. So long as I'm alive, I'll never forget the fallen five. God bless them and their families in Chattanooga and for America. In 2025, I'll run the American flag from the Naval Support Center across Veterans Bridge in honor of the fallen five after the 11 a.m. ceremony at the Wreath of Honor. Everyone is welcome to join me to run with the American flag along the Amnicola Highway of the Riverwalk. Participants may drive, ride, run, bike, boat, float, or fly with an American flag to show their support. God bless America and God bless Chattanooga. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Harvey.
Excuse me, if you don't mind coming back real quick, can you repeat the date on that and the time?
July 16th at 11, the Wreath of Honor, Naval Support Center.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello, can y'all hear me all right? Thank you. My name is Kristen Bonnet, and I live in St. Elmo in District 7. I agree with the previous statements that what the city has proposed for the closure of the Riverwalk is insufficient, and we need a safe alternate route for pedestrians and cyclists during the Riverwalk closure. A little about me, my husband and I are avid cyclists, and when the weather is peak, we'll use the Riverwalk multiple times a week to get to our weekly social rides with friends, to get to downtown for events like the Bluegrass Festival, to go to lunch in the North Shore, get coffee downtown. We even have used it to bike from our house to Chester Frost State Park to camp overnight. All done on our bikes, one less car on the road in traffic, and one less parking spot taken up. I've also experienced firsthand how antagonistic drivers in this town can be to cyclists. The weekly social bike ride I participate in has anywhere from 60 to 100 cyclists riding as a group around town. Maybe you've seen us and you're all welcome to join us on Wednesday nights. But even as that group, as large as we are, obeying the laws of the road, we've almost been hit by cars multiple times. We've been verbally harassed and even followed by aggressive drivers. We've even had drivers incorrectly tell us that we are legally not allowed to ride in the road. Without a safe detour, I fear for the safety of cyclists and pedestrians trying to get from St. Elmo to downtown and vice versa. The shortest route for cyclists would be if we can cut through the service road to Chestnut to take 26 to Broad Street, ride on Broad Street for a half mile, get in the left lane to turn left on 20th, ride down 20th in the left lane so we can turn on 19th to reconnect with the Riverwalk. If the city believes that this is an acceptable default for cycling traffic, then I actually invite each and every one of you to ride that route with me on a bike and see for yourselves. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Also, I am pro chickens.
Hi, my name is Abby Stevenson, and I live in the Glenwood community. Thank you, council, for hearing all of us, and I want to have a special thanks to Councilwoman Dotley for formally requesting a safe alternative route be provided to the upcoming Riverwalk closure. That's what we're here for. We want the improvements to the Riverwalk. We're pro improvements to the Riverwalk and all that entails, but the Riverwalk is already being used extensively by cyclists, walkers, runners, and new tourists in Chattanooga. Something to consider is that our main tourist attraction in Chattanooga is already closed, and one of arguably our second most popular tourist attraction, the Riverwalk, having this closure cut pedestrians and cyclists and tourists off from St. Elmo is going to handicap those businesses, as well as put pedestrians and cyclists at risk by trying to find an alternative route themselves. I also want to express concern that this closure was announced only 2 weeks before it's supposed to happen. I think that the city needs to take into consideration the voices of the community who are advocating for safer streets and advocating for all of the things that the city has a vision for if we're going to become, if we are the national park city of the US, then we need to involve community members and community groups and listen to what they have to say as far as what the city needs. So yeah, I think that also just wanting to mention that anecdotally, there has been a growth and a spike, I would say, in cycling traffic, walking traffic, running traffic. I've lived in Chattanooga 10 years, and I've been using the Riverwalk, specifically that section and all the sections, since that time, as a runner for 10 years and now as a cyclist. And I've seen the traffic steadily increase over the years, and that's good. That's for a reason, and that's another reason why we're so pro the improvements to the Riverwalk. However, shutting this section down is going to just lose a little bit of that momentum that people are coming to the Riverwalk for a safe and car-free way to get around the city. Because really, there's no other way in the city to get from point A to point B other than the Riverwalk without cars. And that benefits businesses. It benefits residents of the community, people who are commuting, people who are recreating on the Riverwalk, and we just want a safe alternative route. So, thank you.
Hello, Council. I'm Dakota Dahl. I'm in District 8. It's lovely to see you all again. I'm sorry to be here on these terms, though. 3 guesses what I want to talk about. I think we have an opportunity in front of us right now, not to repeat the mistakes and inaction that led to the tragic accident on Fraser a couple years back. I have been injured due to inaction and unsafe infrastructure as a bike commuter 2 years ago and change now, and I will likely never be the same. And I think that's a shame for me. I am more concerned about that for vulnerable users of the road, people who are not confident cyclists, who are unstable pedestrians, my friends who are all having kids right now. And I'm not naive to the fact that growth requires inconvenience. We're a growing city. That's amazing. That's a huge gift. I am frustrated about our attitude towards walking and biking. We seem in the city to view that as a recreational activity, and the decisions that were made in the Parks Department around the closure of the Riverwalk and the lack of a detour all express a view of walking and biking as optional, as a recreational activity that you have alternatives. And that's not realistic for St. Elmo, and that is not good stewardship of our city. This is critical infrastructure, and it should not be treated as recreational infrastructure. And I mean, if 24 was shut down, we would have a detour. If Market was shut down, or Broad, the other two streets that cross the same train tracks and cross Chattanooga Creek were shut down, we would find a way around as a city. It's critical infrastructure, we know this. And I'm just asking for a change of mindset in this regard, in regard to a safe detour around that closure of the Riverwalk. And more broadly, I think that'd be a really helpful and life-saving change of mind. And I thank you guys for all the advocacy you already do. Councilwoman Dotley, I really appreciate your efforts already, and many others here. I just want to advocate for this mindset to be more pervasive, both for the sake of my own life and not becoming more damaged, and my friends and neighbors and peers all around. And I agree with the solutions that were put forward at the very beginning. I am also pro-chicken.
Hello, Council. My name is Ann Ferris-Caston, and I'm from District 9. I didn't know if I was going to actually speak today. And then during the recess, so a group of us went over to a restaurant bar to just discuss things and what we were thinking and feeling. And the bartender overheard us and came over and said, "Are you talking about like the Riverwalk situation?" I wish I could go and speak. I bike to work downtown every day from St. Elmo. And I can't get there because I'm working all day, but I wish I could come and speak. So I decided to speak for her because she can't come today. And I know a lot of people who wanted to come can't make it at this time. But I honestly fell in love with Chattanooga when I started cycling. And I started cycling when I lived in St. Elmo. And I used that part of the Riverwalk to go from where I thought was like too far to like be a walkable, bikeable part of the community, and then got to join. And honestly, it's like when you get glasses and then you see everyone else who has glasses on. Until I started cycling, when I started cycling, I started to see cyclists everywhere. In my community, in my church, in my like work, in the bars. There's so many more people affected than you might think. And I agree with everything that's been said so far. I'm excited about new growth and new expansions and new safety things that will be coming up. But I'm very concerned that we may be rushing towards that with such a speed that we're lacking in the protections that the community is asking of its leadership. And if we get there and we get all those things, but at the sacrifice of people's safety, what is it? I care about all the cyclists that I know and the walkers that I know and all the people in cars that I know. And I am here to ask for a delay of this closure so that we can give it the planning that it needs, the planning it deserves, the planning that these communities deserve. I trust that it can be done because we are a creative community and a get it done community. Thank you for your time today.
Good evening, Council. Noel Wakeroad, District 7. I'd like to ask the Council to help prevent Mayor Kelly's administration from making a large mistake. Yes, I did cycle here. Yes, I did use the route that is under discussion, that is being closed arbitrarily by the Kelly administration with 2 weeks' notice. Like Mr. Dakota said, it's a big mistake to think that that the Riverwalk is a toy, a recreational activity. I'm also here to speak for 3 other people here who are here for the agenda meeting and weren't able to stay. One of whom is a grandmother who cycles with her kids every day for her health. One is to our local workers who cycle to and from to and from their jobs downtown and beyond every day for their work. So this isn't just a matter of recreation. This is a matter of accessibility, of transportation. You don't shut down. The Kelly administration is right now thinking about roads as the priority and everything else as the fun stuff. Please, council, help us hold the mayoral administration to account that all the infrastructure that we have in the city is important and is used not just as toys or as fun, but as actual important infrastructure that gets people to their jobs, that lets grandmothers stay healthy, that lets me go to church every Sunday. So the one other point that hasn't been brought up yet, if you think about why this is important to us, why there's so many people here, there's a choke point as a cyclist in the south side of the city. So there's the Chattanooga Creek and the railroad crossings. There's 3 bridges over those things, Market Street, Broad Street, and then the Riverwalk Bridge over the Wheeland Boundary. Sorry, I have to breathe, I get talking too fast. So between those 3, that's it. There's nothing else. If you want to cross over the creek, over the railroad tracks, that's all you got. So by not giving us an alternative, the Kelly administration is saying, okay, those are your other 2 places. Now, I actually had that choice when I first started cycling here in 2013. And I decided that it was safer for me to trespass through the old Wheeland Boundary before it was converted into the Riverwalk than it was to ride on Market or Broad Street. We're about to have the same thing happen, and I would ask the council to help us prevent that from occurring. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Krause. I live in District 2. To start, yeah, I agree with the statements previously mentioned for changes, and specifically that what we have is not good enough, and that we need an alternative route established for the construction term. Just anecdotally, I'll be brief. I live on North Shore. I regularly use the Riverwalk, not just as a means of recreation, as many have said, but it's as a means of utility. I bike from the North Shore to St. Elmo to my weekly mental health therapy sessions. I use it to commute to friends' houses, to restaurants, to coffee shops. It's honestly the main thoroughfare that I use to commute around the city, in addition to all the recreational riding that I do. I think previously, maybe like a year and a half ago, the Riverwalk might have been closed around this section for, I think, like a couple weeks or a couple months, and I do remember some kind of protected detour being provided. I think, like the gentleman over here said, there was definitely a protected bike lane on Broad Street for a few weeks. So I know that this has been done before, and nothing that we're asking for is unprecedented or out of the question. Like some people have said, if we were closing any of the streets that are normally traveled by cars, surely a protected detour would be provided for them. So I would just ask that you give the same generosity and consideration to the cyclists. Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Matthew McCroskey. I'm a resident of District 7. I'm also a father of 3 young children who live with me in the district, and we make extensive use of the Riverwalk. Again, not only for leisure and for a place where kids can get a sense of freedom and independence and get an opportunity to begin learning to ride, but also for utility. I use it regularly to get groceries from Southside down to the Publix near St. Elmo. And the idea of riding that on a bicycle, especially with kids around, to get groceries is just something I would never do because it would be absolutely putting my children in danger. I have a car though. I have the luxury of being able to drive down there. There are other folks that don't have that luxury. I know of a woman who's not able to be here tonight who lives in the Cameron Harbor area, right next to the Riverwalk. She's a single mother of 5. She uses that route regularly as well to get groceries, to do other essential activities in the St. Elmo area, as well as for recreation with her and her children. I think it's been stated quite thoroughly that this is not just a toy. It's not just for fun. It is a serious piece of infrastructure that people rely on for their livelihoods, rely on for safe passage, and is an important statement about the priorities that Chattanooga does have in its finest moments. I'm about to celebrate my second anniversary as a Chattanoogan after living in Nashville for 13 years, and I watched that city grow explosively, which brought all the positives and negatives of that growth. And I watched the way that a lack of care for pedestrians and a lack of care for non-car commuters in general really deteriorated the quality of life for a lot of people and made the city unlivable to a degree that they chose to leave. One of the reasons that my family and I chose to relocate here is not only because of the smaller size, but frankly because it feels like a place where there's an opportunity to make better decisions, where we haven't already made a bunch of irreversible choices. Obviously, this is a temporary closure, and so it's not an irreversible choice. But I think it's a really important statement that the city can choose to make about where it puts its values, to choose to create a safe passage for all the people who rely on this pathway in the same way that they would create safe passage for vehicles in a similar closure. So I thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I'm Sam Wohler. I live in District 8. I'm a student at UTC studying environmental geology and GIS. During the school year, I did a project to find safer routes for cycling in the city. The closure of the Riverwalk near the new stadium will make traveling difficult to St. Elmo for cyclists and pedestrians. While making my project, I used data from a popular fitness app called Strava. This app is used to track and map activities like cycling, running, and walking. The data I acquired from Strava shows that in 2024, 21,645 cycling trips and over 4,400 walking or running trips have been passed through the proposed section that will be closed. For comparison, the Walnut Street Bridge the same year in 2024 had 12,985 cycling trips across the bridge and 29,590 walks or runs across that bridge. The closest alternative for pedestrians to get to St. Elmo is Broad Street. In my project, I also used city-provided data that shows the level of stress for cyclists for each road in the city. This factors in the road's speed limit, number of lanes, and more. The city's data set showed Broad Street, which is the closest alternative, having the highest stress level out of 4. I encourage the city to come up with a safe and effective detour for cyclists and pedestrians to get to St. Elmo. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Taylor Thompson. I'm a resident of District 7, and I'm also a student at UTC. I study political science, and I frequently lead group cycling trips with the UTC Outdoors program, and we frequently use the Riverwalk as one of our main arteries for these trips. I just want to speak here today representing my fellow students and several of my professors who use the Riverwalk to commute from St. Elmo. I also want to point out that many of my fellow students don't have access to their own car. We live on campus, and there have been problems. It's not a huge secret that the campus could be a little bit more connected with the city in general. And the Riverwalk and these recreational and transit artery polls are one of the big polls that bring students out into the city and encourage us to patronize local businesses. We frequently do a semesterly trip down to St. Elmo and our big group rides, and we're having to reconsider that this year because of the short announcement, and we're having to reconsider that. I also want to point out that safety is a big issue for students that rely on their bikes to get around, not just campus, but the city. And in the past, when there have been bike lanes closed or access to the Riverwalk has been difficult, several of us have unfortunately been injured on the road. I myself, last November on Broad Street, was the victim of being struck by a vehicle, and I had my left wrist fractured. It's thankfully healed now. Thankfully. But and several people before me mentioned the tragic accident with Fraser Avenue. It would be terrible to have that repeated. And I think our reputation here in Chattanooga, we can get the solution done. I really think we don't have to choose between the innovation and improvements that are being done to the Riverwalk and safety and upholding our reputation. I don't think we have to do that. I mean, I'm very proud to be a member of this community. We're the first national park city in North America. It's a very community-based environment. I love it here. We have a very great, innovative community here, and I think we can find a solution here. And I thank you all for your consideration in that. I also want to thank Councilwoman Dotley for her initiative in this effort. Thank you.
Afternoon, Council. My name is Christopher Brecker, President of District 8. Also here to comment on the closure for the Riverwalk. I don't have a lot of unique points to make at this time. A lot of people have covered the points that are necessary. So I'll just reiterate the solutions and the points that have already been made. Extend our collective thanks to Councilwoman Dotley for giving us a voice and advocating for us. Yeah, I think we just need, as a city, to choose to make public safety a priority and not an afterthought. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your service.
Hello, my name's Sean Blackburn. I'd like to take time to recognize Anna Rodriguez, Jonathan Delvin, the pedestrians killed on Fraser Avenue, Mr. Kenny Brooks, who Johnny mentioned earlier, that was killed on Highway 58 on his bike. In April, I was in a bike accident due to a traffic detour. I got a concussion, black eye, cracked ribs, fractured hand, still recovering. I love the city and all the outdoor activities it has to offer. We're claiming the title of National Park City, and we can do better. I'm asking that we take time with multiple groups to come together for a solution that best suits everyone. I'm here to be a part of the solution, and I thank y'all for your time.
Hi there. My name is Sophia Cowan. I'm a resident of St. Elmo District 7. And as may be obvious to some of you, unlike a lot of these folks, I am not a super athlete and everyday cyclist. However, that does not discount my concern for the well-being of those that are. I'm here to speak about the proposed closure of the Riverwalk. A lot of people have made other points that I was going to, so I'm just going to skip ahead. I am a manager at a downtown employer. I can't tell you which one, but you can guess. And we do a lot of recruiting nationally for folks. And I will tell you, the people that I'm able to recruit to come here and bring their talent come here because of our outdoor recreation, our thoroughfares, our cycling. That is what attracts people to our city, and that is where our growth is coming from. If we cut into that in the name of a stadium or any other activity, we're cutting off our bread basket in favor of some icing. So we need to remember to prioritize what is driving the growth in our city. That is an investment, the stadium and other improvements for future residents, for tourists, but keeping the Riverwalk open and or a realistic, safe detour is an investment in our current residents and the taxpayers, and that's who I think the entire city council and our city employees are here to represent. The Riverwalk is needed for all non-drivers to get to work and school, for children to play, and importantly for our homeless neighbors, many of whom inhabit South Chattanooga, and that is their only access to critical services they need other than wandering down Broad Street and hoping they don't die, many of whom are wheelchair bound. I understand as a car commuter that if we close a lane or something similar on Broad Street, that's going to make my commute daily worse. But better that my commute be inconvenient than somebody lose their employment, their access to services, or worse, their life. So I ask that you please stop this closure, delay it, et cetera, until a real safe detour can be made. And by that, I mean a detour similar to the one we have over Veterans Bridge with a real blocked lane, not a couple of traffic cones and some hope that we saw originally on Fraser Avenue. And make sure that we are respecting all of the non-drivers in our city. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Madison. I'm a resident of St. Elmo. You've heard a lot from the local cyclists, but I want to talk about the not local cyclists. I moved to St. Elmo about a year ago and had 6 months of being in downtown St. Elmo and appreciating all of the people who ride the bike shares into town, get on the incline from that, and then as a result, they visit Mr. T's and Clumpy's and El Jalisco, all the really cool small businesses in our tiny little St. Elmo town. And in December, I got a frantic phone call from my husband when I was out of town for work that our house was being evacuated because of the fire. We live directly under the incline. And I've watched St. Elmo struggle over the past 6 months with the incline being closed. People aren't riding bikes down there and getting on the incline. People aren't visiting Mr. T's. They're not going to Clumpy's. Our St. Elmo Facebook group is blowing up with small business owners who are desperate for help because their businesses are struggling. And when the Riverwalk gets cut off and we don't have tourists walking down and we don't have people riding their bikes down, yes, they could park, but who wants to deal with another Bright-based ticket and worry about parking when they've already parked in the city? When we don't have those tourists, those people coming in to St. Elmo through the Riverwalk, our little city, our home of the Corgi Parade is going to suffer. These businesses have made it 6 months, and it's been really hard for them. There's been a lot of concerns about their ability to stay open, and 9 months of them being cut off from tourists, from people riding their bikes down, is just going to make St. Elmo suffer more. It's a neighborhood that posts signs that say, "Don't give up, we believe in you, we love you." It's a great part of Chattanooga, and it doesn't deserve to be cut off or to suffer for the stadium. I grew up in Cobb County. I grew up 5 miles from the Braves Stadium in the Battery. I love it. It was a great part of our community. It helped our education grow. And honestly, we could really use that benefit in the South Side. And I'm excited for that, but I don't want St. Elmo to suffer now just to benefit in the future when the small businesses and the people who've lived there forever are already struggling. Thank you so much for what you guys have done, for listening to all of us. I look forward to seeing what you do with this information and what solutions you guys are able to come up with. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for listening to all of us. I know we're a long line of people. My name is Matt Culver. I live in St. Elmo in District 7. And Councilwoman Dotley, I wanted to say thank you for your response in the email that I received today about the initiative. Just a few stories to share. I am an avid cyclist. I ride my bike to work, which is sort of near the boathouse. So I traverse the Riverwalk the entire way there. There's a surgery center that I can go through the back parking lot and cross Riverside Drive at a light where I'm able to activate a pedestrian crossing. So I use the Riverwalk weekly to get to work. One evening coming home, I decided, I'll go a more direct route and bike along Broad Street. This was a few years ago. So I actually rode the sidewalk over the Broad Street Bridge and tried to go that way. But and I would consider myself a seasoned cyclist, having been doing this for about 15 years. I didn't feel that that was a very safe route to ride at all, and I wouldn't ride it, and I wouldn't recommend that other people ride that way. One Sunday morning, I'm up early and I am heading to church, and I see a couple of people that I know who also bike to church. I happened to be in my truck that day. They were biking along Market Street. The first thought that came to my mind is, how can they not know about the Riverwalk? Why would they use Market Street? And I made a point and I thought, next time I see them, I'm going to tell them, hey, it takes a little bit longer to go around, but it's so much safer. It's completely worth it. Again, I fully support the efforts that are being done as far as the work that's happening at the stadium site. But I do want to stress that it's really vital to me, whether it's at the new stadium site or the Tennessee American Water that closes sometimes because of flooding. It's really important to me and to others that the Riverwalk be treated as kind of sacred. Like it's got to be open. It's got to be continuous, and that a safe path be made for people to traverse on it. But even more than that, I'm an architect by profession. I would absolutely love to be part of anything that I could do to help in any efforts if something is needed for, a safe route proposal. So, and I'm sure that others here would be willing to be part of that as well. So thank you all for your time, and look forward to seeing what comes from this.
Hello, my name is Rachel Saker. I live in District 9, and I'm mostly just echoing what's already been said. So for a little personal anecdote, though, so I grew up in Austin, Texas in the early 2000s when it went from just kind of average and a lot of anything outside of downtown was lower middle class, to boom, suddenly the house I grew up in was worth $500,000, and we're like, what? So part of what did that, and part of the reason why people came to Austin interior within city limits, was infrastructure like what Chattanooga's doing, where they had river walks, they had, green belts connecting all through the city. And now that, Chattanooga's doing the same, I was like, one, buying myself a house now, which I just did. And two, I want to be here for that growth and see that, because it's such a cool way to be a part of your own community. And honestly, things like the Riverwalk are why people are gonna move to Chattanooga city limits, not to Cleveland or out to Jasper to live in a gated community, or Ooltewah. This is what's gonna keep their money and their property taxes, all that in the city limits. So being able to honor these infrastructures as more than just a fun Tuesday activity, but something that people want and as a vital lifeline of their day-to-day is important. Obviously, we're super stoked that it's gonna get expanded and bigger, and we're stoked that there's more coming in the future, but there still needs to be that balance of the long-term with what we need now. Lastly, since I've got a minute and a half, so I'm a super avid outdoors person. I cave every single weekend. I'm here with, I do all the stuff with the caving club, except while hiking, I had my Achilles tendon severed a year ago. And I literally couldn't walk for 3 to 6 months. But one of the first activities I could do, due to the fact that it was low impact, was I could ride a bike, and I could ride that in my walking boot. And I was doing 40 miles on that river walk, and it was the first time that I was able to move faster than a crutch speed for 6 months. And that was life-changing, to be able to just have that safe place where I knew that if I were to fall or be unstable because I couldn't catch myself on my injured leg, that I wouldn't just get my head run over. So, think that there's more than just the for funsies. It's there's a million different reasons why people are gonna love this infrastructure, and that why they want to be there and have it open and available, and why we can't have dangerous or go figure it out sort of temporary solutions. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
How's it going? My name is Stephen Gibson. First and foremost, thank you, Councilmember Dotley. I am in your district. It is awesome. Thank you so much for taking care of us and being a voice. A little about me, my wife and I bought a house here 3 years ago. We moved from Austin, Texas. We were able to buy that house with the VA loan. I was in Iraq twice. I've been blown up multiple times in my vehicle in Iraq. I don't like driving. I look able-bodied. I look like I'm, healthy. When I drive, I get anxiety to the point where it's bad. I'm not going to get into it. So I cycle. I use the Riverwalk to get downtown for official business, for fun, just to clear my head sometimes. I'm an avid cyclist. I've ridden in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm originally from. I also lived in Austin, Texas, and I've cycled there. I've cycled Century Rides, which is 100 miles in one go on Chattanooga byways and mountain passes. 20th Street, Broad Street, in that area is the most dangerous part for my commute. Having to cross 20th Street, I don't know if a lot of people know that area. It is a 4-lane road that I have to cross. It's like 40 miles an hour, tractor trailers, semis use that route regularly. That is also inconveniently where our soccer stadium is. So a lot of pedestrian travel through that corridor right there. I can manage that because I'm an avid cyclist and I don't mind the added risk when I'm on those roads because I can handle that. There's a lot of people here today that can't, that are not, they don't feel safe, and not feeling safe in the city that you live in, especially when we're toting that we're this national park city. It's kind of depressing and sad. I think we can do better. This isn't to take the wind out of the sails. I'm so thankful for the progress that we're doing with the revitalization of taking these old, I used to be a blacksmith, taking all these steel factories that are just nothing but toxic and then returning them back to the community. It's beautiful. I can't wait to see the city in 5 to 10 years, but I think we need to take a step back with this. The Kelly administration gave us 2 weeks for us to figure out. Nobody else. TDOT, the city of Chattanooga is not setting up anything for us. It's individual people having to do this. Not everyone has the means to find alternative routes. And as someone already said, there's only 3 ways over that rail bridge in that road. And you're taking one of them away from us, which is the safest one. Lastly, please think about the ADA implications here. I think that someone stated, and I don't know the actual term, but it is required to provide ADA compliant detours if we're taking out this corridor. We're not doing that. It's kind of sad. So if you guys can please help us out here, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Zach Truitt. I'm also speaking on the Riverwalk closure. Though it has been thoroughly discussed, I feel like it matters to show the level of support of these concerns. This closure cuts off our communities. It cuts off our families, everyday people, not just the avid cyclists, but people young and old from all walks of life, children, grandparents who have historically been able to use the Riverwalk to connect Chattanooga safely with no danger from cars. People use it to commute. People use it to get places. It's not just about recreation. There are people in our communities who rely on this to get around. From downtown, people can use it to access the varying businesses in St. Elmo. And people can get from anywhere south of the city to our various businesses downtown, to the events we host downtown that we take pride in. To get from here to St. Elmo right now, if it's closed, would require either a very dangerous trek along Broad Street or Market, neither of which are set up to safely handle any significant level of bicycle or pedestrian traffic, or a long, very long detour that still involves many roads that would just not be safe for a casual cyclist trying to commute in or out of downtown. The Riverwalk is a source of pride and something our communities have relied on. And Chattanooga needs to, and I thoroughly believe it can, find a better solution to keep our communities and our businesses connected. Thank you.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I just want to thank everyone for coming. Y'all know it's all about the voices of the people, and we appreciate you all. And I do want to note, I did reply to you all, as many of y'all that I was able to today with, or yesterday, depending on when I got your email, that I did formally request from the administration a safe and accessible detour while construction is going on. You all have offered some really good solutions. And I talked to a gentleman prior to our this meeting reconvening also about some solutions. But I did request that from city staff. The administration has been working on that. Madam Chair, if you don't mind, after Mr. Bell, could we have administration come up and give an update about that, please? Okay, thank you so much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ms. Bell, for holding for me.
Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna be honest, I got quite a few emails about this, quite a few District 9 folks here, which I appreciate. And I'm gonna be honest, I was quite ignorant of this issue because it wasn't in my district. But, you know, I spent the last year and a half talking about street safety, pedestrian, multimodal safety, cyclist safety throughout art district. And you know, this is the first time that I've had to pay attention to other corridors. I echo Councilwoman Dodley in urging administration, April, Parks, Public Works, whoever is needed, to find an alternative route. I really don't see it being that difficult. You know, we make stuff happen when we want to make stuff happen. So please get with these activists. Please, let's find something that can work. Because, you know, I think it's very obvious that this stretch of Greenway is a corridor that's really important for a lot of people. And there's a lifeline. And I think that's evident by so many people who live in that area, who you hear them say, I shop there, this is how I get to the grocery store, this is how I get to downtown, this is how I live. I am going to expand this conversation and urge the organizations and activists who have helped organize you all here today to consider the other corridors throughout our city who needs this as well. I have people playing Frogger to get across Main Street and Bailey. I have people on Missionary Ridge clinging to walls just so they can walk around and enjoy their neighborhood. I had a 16-year-old who got hit in East Chattanooga and was critically injured. Nobody came to protest that for that child. I have one of the most dangerous corridors in our city, especially coming out of Brainerd Tunnel. I've had a business that had cars hit their business 8 different times to the point where there will no longer be, insurance companies no longer cover them. People are literally dying in other parts of the city, and we don't have activists coming to their rescue. I have people walking in storm drains just to get to the grocery store if they can get to one, trying to get to work to catch a bus in Brainerd and Eastdale. Your activism is noteworthy. I am glad to see that we're investing in this stretch of corridor, who I might add is getting an upgrade. But here, the fight does not stop. Your voices are needed in other parts of the city. You all are right. Chattanooga's biggest asset is our outdoors. Absolutely. Now, I obviously don't seem like I bike too often. But you're exactly right. People travel from all across this country to come see the beauty that we have to offer. But it's the people that live here that really make this place special, who don't just use this corridor, who also needs your voice. So please continue your activism because we need it.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Councilman Elliott, for that wonderful monologue. That's right. First, I want to commend the Kelly administration and Councilwoman Dodley. I know it is in their heart. I have seen the administration respond to things in my district. I actually, the day that Mr. Rollins on Highway 58 was hit on his bicycle, I was at the Speedway that day and saw that. I was actually on the phone with an administrator and witnessed that in my district on his bike at Speedway on my way out of town. So I know this administration is sensitive about this, and I'm sure this is a logistical issue that will be fixed. I have seen them respond to traffic calming issues or to bike issues. Some in my district, we're not, I hate to say it, we're not the biggest bike district, and we're getting there. But I know this administration will work very quickly along with Councilwoman Dodley to resolve this as they have done in previous cases. So I applaud them as a councilwoman and all of you for being advocates to come here because it's safety is an issue. So thank you again for coming, and thank you to the administration for acting so swiftly to address this.
I'll just say a couple final words before we hand it over to Mr. Bell. To use a baseball term, I would describe this as an unforced error. I do believe that the Kelly administration does value multimodal transportation. I've seen it in District 2, and I've also seen the power of neighborhoods working together alongside council people to really affect lasting change. And I know that Councilwoman Dotley is that type of leader. So I look forward to what happens here. But I will add that none of us are perfect. And when we do have unforced errors, there are opportunities for conversations just like this one. This council has 5 new folks on it, many of them who have not heard an outpouring of people speak about multimodal transportation. And you all made some interesting points tonight that frankly we haven't really elevated as a community yet. One that stood out to me is the reality that this is not just recreational transportation, that this is a genuine thoroughfare for people to move about our city in a meaningful way, that it's not just the fun stuff. Sidewalks and river walks are not just for fun. And it makes me think about in 2020 when we as a community recognized that the internet wasn't just for fun. And we figured out as a community how to make sure our kids got access to the internet in a way that no other community, as far as I know, in the nation figured out the quality of a solution that Chattanooga did. And so, in as much as I would have loved for there to be a bang up, fantastic detour already like rolled out and it all be perfect, it's pretty darn useful that there wasn't, because now we got to have this conversation. And a whole nother neighborhood became part of the conversation in a way that District 2 rose up. And for this council to hear a diversity of opinion is genuinely useful over the long term for us as leaders. So thank you for being here and for sharing your perspective. Mr. Bell.
Well, thank you. Madam Chair, Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray hair like fox, the man with the $1 trillion voice. And I'm also a cyclist. Very good one.
Looking with the theme.
Don't get to be nearly 70 and look this good without a little biking here, a little walking there, and a little running here. It's all the fundamentals of life: health, education, and the welfare of the people. And this is all I've been trying to get you all to stay on board. It's not that when you are knocked out of bounds, that's the problem. It's when you step out of bounds and you want to jump back in. That becomes the problem. When you are out of bounds, you're out of bounds. It's a violation. Let me read to you. People ask, Marty, what do you like to do? Who are the people that you like? What kind of women do you like? All of this kind of stuff. You've been a journalist for over 60 years. I like people who like to read and who like to write. And I want to read to you from a young lady. I never met her. She came here as the chief of police, and she's still my chief. And I want to read to you something that she left. Let me read to you. Chattanooga residents, fellow CPD officers, as well as the state, that's Cody Wong, and federal prosecutors who present cases should have full confidence that officers who investigate crimes, apprehend suspects, and testify in court uphold the highest standards of integrity. It is unacceptable that a case could be jeopardized due to an integrity issue with an officer or a judge or an attorney or people practicing law without license, who are then found to have previously misrepresented the truth or filed a false police report. You've got judges in this entire court case, docket number 19C-1049, that was closed on September the 19th, 2019. You all have accrued $211 billion, $34 million for your stepping out of bounds and still thinking that you won. I've defeated the entire 11th Judicial District Court, riding a bicycle and sleeping on these streets, and you all say you won? I want my money. I want your police away. All CPD, Hamilton County Sheriff deputies, UTC police, and I want UTC to apologize for taking my education. I want you all to pay $211 billion, $34 million last time.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you. And I'm not out of bounds.
Council, we have reached the end of our agenda. I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm sorry. Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, I'm so sorry, Madam Chair. If at all possible, if Jeremy or Jay
Oh,
can
thank
come
you.
and update us
Got it.
on
Thank
on
you.
the information he has so far.
Absolutely. Council members, thank you for this opportunity. Residents, I'd like to say thank you for coming here and voicing your opinion. It means a lot to the community, it means a lot to the city, so thank you for that. At the end of the day, there's always a way that we can approach this, right? And I think communication is the biggest one. So what I heard today is a lot of issues, a lot of we haven't been told, we're not included in this. So what I'm asking you is help me help you. Give me some solution opportunities. Because every solution that we've tried to engage on, we've hit a roadblock that we can't move forward on. So that surrounding area has a lot of private property that we don't have access to, so we can't push anything on an agenda to be able to use those. Broad Street is a state route. We don't own the actual ability to make impact on those roads unless the state says that we can do it. We've asked and they said no. So we're very limited on what we can and can't do right now. We also have multiple projects that are going on in that area that impact where we were looking at detouring things. So with all that being said, we have looked, we've been actively looking. We've been looking for over a year now since the stadium project has been approved. We just don't know where to go with it all. So what I'm asking you is if you have ideas that we can possibly entertain, send them to me, please, because I will gladly entertain that. Who are you? I'm Jeremy Wood, the Administrator of Public Works. My email address is jwood1@chattanooga.gov.
So Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Jay, thank you so much. So what I'll do, how many of y'all got my email yesterday that's here, that was on that list? It's not that many of y'all. Okay, so if y'all could stay for just a second, and Jay, if you don't mind huddling with me, along with maybe whoever else over the administration that we need to huddle with, and we can exchange some information and maybe have a brief discussion, because y'all, it is 7 o'clock. So have a brief discussion and then circle back to maybe some further plans, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. And can I add one more thing out there?
Yes.
So whenever we were doing this entire planning process and looking at all the options, the one thing that we kept falling back on is CARTA. CARTA is a transportation option. I know that it's not an option that everybody wants, but it's a transportation option. This is not the best scenario for everything that everybody wants and to accomplish, but at the end of the day, we have to look at our full complement of opportunity, and that is an opportunity. I understand you don't like it and your thumbs down, but it's something that's there, so. You drive car? Absolutely not, I have a car.
All right.
Okay, this is not the moment for this back and forth. Also, I would say Mr. Wood is a great partner and should be treated with respect.
Absolutely.
But we're not here for a back and forth in this part of the meeting. Do we have anything else?
No, that's it.
No, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Council, our work here is done. What is your pleasure?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned.